Every once in a while, it's fun to read an over-the-top power fantasy. So today I wanted to talk about two of them that I've been enjoying recently. Let's Buy the Land and Cultivate in a Different World, and Chillin in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers. Both of these manga are pretty similar, but they each have their own charms. I wouldn't call either of them good. These aren't Oscar material. Not every book can be Ulysses, and not every movie can be Godfather. But they are fun to read, and that's kind of the point. There's more to life than just masterpieces. Sometimes you want a lighthearted romp with an overpowered main character and his gorgeous, supportive wife. Chillin in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers is available both as a manga and a light novel in the United States, but only the manga is available in paperback. You can pick up digital copies of either on Bookwalker, link in the description below. Volume 3 of the manga releases on March 15th, while Volume 4 of the light novel comes out on March 25th. Our story begins when Bonanza, a merchant in the middle of doing business, was summoned to another world. The world has been at war with demons and is constantly summoning heroes to find the perfect candidate to defeat the demon lord. The summoning process causes people to gain extraordinary skills and powers, but those who aren't strong enough are sent back, usually. Unfortunately for Bonanza, he was weaker than most soldiers and was promptly forgotten about when the next summon arrived. Someone who, despite being level 1, displayed all stats at 999. Whenever someone is summoned who isn't an ideal candidate, they are returned to their world, but it must be done within 24 hours. Otherwise, the window closes and the summoned person is unable to return. Well, with all the excitement from finding the true hero, the summoners and the nobility forgot to return Bonanza to his world, so now he's stuck. Feeling guilty, the king grants him some land far to the north, near the Delavaza forest. His new fiefdom is 20 days' travel via wagon. Upon arriving, he takes stock of his inventory and surroundings. While doing so, he's attacked by a slime. He draws the worn and chipped sword given to him by the king and is barely able to kill it. The experience points earned from this kill cause Bonanza to rise to level 2, which unlocks his super cheat powers. His stats go from single digits to an odd symbol. It looks like a figure 8, but sideways? That's strange. Also, he now seems to have every form of magic as well as some sort of tutorial explaining to him the world. Specifically, it tells him that his bag is cursed to attract monsters, and that the Malachim levels in the area are high enough to cause damage to humans. The tutorial suggests casting Purify. Bonanza does so, not realizing he just wiped out the demon army hiding in the forest. Thinking things through, Bonanza is convinced the king sent him here to die. So he uses his newfound magic to change his face, decides to go by the name Fleo, and teleports back to town to get some supplies that aren't falling apart. While in town, he meets a little girl begging people to help her head to the Delavaza forest, the same forest he just left. Being a kind-hearted person, Fleo agrees to take her back but is stopped by a party of 4 women. They have some suspicions about the little girl, but he waves them off. Stepping outside of town, Fleo teleports himself, the young girl, and the 4 adventurers to Delavaza. It turns out the women's predictions were correct. The young girl was wanting to reconvene with the army of demons amassing in the Delavaza forest, only to find out they had been completely wiped out. It turns out the Purify spell is one of the most powerful holy magics in the world, and is usually cast by a coven of wizards working in concert. No one believes Fleo when he tells them he cast Purify all by himself. The young girl transforms into a giant wolf and attacks Fleo. Thinking quickly, he forcibly teleports the 4 adventurers back to town and casts gravity magic, pinning the wolf. Eventually, she submits to him. As is the custom in her clan, when she is defeated in combat, she offers herself. The two have a long conversation, but the end result is that she is now his wife. And what an adorable wife she is. Every day she is trying to learn how to live in human society while supporting her husband. The two stick together through thick and thin, and though he's clearly the stronger of the two, she takes pride in his strength and supports him with everything she has. The other manga, Let's Buy the Land and Cultivate in a Different World, has a lot of similarities to Chillin in Another World. You have a group of people summoned to another world in order to defeat the Demon King. However, Itanami Norio, our main character, wasn't summoned, but was instead reincarnated by Hephaestus. Yeah, the god of the smithy. While he was dead, Hephaestus granted Norio his new skill, Master of Supremacy. However, Hephaestus never told him how to use the skill, suggesting he figure it out on his own. So while the king is explaining the situation to his summoned heroes, Norio suddenly appears in the throne room, startling everyone. The king explains that the only way home for those who were summoned is to defeat the Demon Lord. Norio lies to the king and says he has no skills, so he asks for a plot of land and some gold in order to live a quiet life in the countryside. The king hastily agrees, as he has no idea what to do with this man. And so, Norio begins his new life in the wilderness. He eventually decides to go with the name Kidan, and that's what he's known throughout the rest of the series, so that's how we'll refer to him here. Kidan remembers that to start a fire, he needs a fireboard with a notch cut in it, and a spindle, as well as a dry leaf to catch the coal. For those who don't know, Hollywood lies to you about starting a fire with this method. I've tried this method, and the only thing I ended up with was blisters. I've done the bow drill method before, which is much more effective. Also, the end result of either method is a small chunk of coal, maybe a centimeter in diameter, which has fallen on a leaf. You then use the leaf to transfer the coal to a wad of prepared kindling, and then blow until the smoke turns yellow and then it finally bursts into flame. Then you're left standing there with fire in your hand, tears in your eyes from the smoke, and pride in your heart because you just made fire from nothing but your own power. Obviously, it doesn't happen that way in this manga, though. Kidan realizes that this is going to be difficult, and so he musters up his fighting spirit, spins the spindle, and flames burst from his fireboard. Thinking about it, Kidan sits down to enjoy his meal, an octopus he'd caught with his hands earlier. He begins to realize that this must be the skill that Hephaestus granted to him. With a single swing of his sickle, he's able to mow down hectares of wild grass, and with a single swing of his hoe, he's able to plow entire furrows. You see, Kidan's ability that was granted to him upon summoning allows him to unlock the true potential of any item he picks up. In D&D terms, imagine rolling a critical success every time you try to craft anything or swing a weapon. And we're talking super generous critical success tables. So what does Kidan fish up the first time he casts his rod? A mermaid princess. Hook still in her mouth, she angrily tells Kidan that he now has to marry her. You see, there is no worse humiliation to merfolk than being caught by some mere land dweller. So she's now exiled and must dedicate her life to the one who caught her. The two build a house together, and Platy is able to conduct her experimental scientific research, which has gotten her into trouble a few times at home. Eventually, their home becomes larger and larger as more people come to stay with them. Soon, the Undead King and the Dragon of Destruction start visiting regularly, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere at Kidan's house. This causes the demon army and the human army no end of stress, but they know they're powerless to stop them. After all, either the Undead King or the Dragon of Destruction could wipe out entire kingdoms if they felt like it, and they are both friends with Kidan. These stories have a lot in common. Both stories have ridiculously overpowered main characters capable of changing landscapes if they wanted. But despite all that power, both of them choose to live quiet lives with their friends and loved ones. They don't want to rule or dominate. All they want is peace. They don't mind working hard when the time is right, but they also have an appropriate work-life balance. Vacations and rest are necessary for humans, and working all the time is not healthy. That being said, though both manga have a similar feel, you don't feel you're reading the same story with either. Each main character, as well as their wives, are interesting and unique. Platy is vehemently protective of Kidan's safety, but not worried about other women. Meanwhile, Risu is suspicious of any woman who wants to get close to Philo. She is trusting, though, and any woman who declares that they only want to serve him and learn from him, and aren't interested in him sexually, is fine. She even extends her guardianship to them as well, as is right and proper for the mother of the pack. The respective Demon Kings could swap places completely and the story wouldn't change much. Both of them want the war with the humans to end, but aren't sure how to do it, especially with war-hungry subordinates willing to pounce on them if they sense weakness. However, the Human Kings are a bit different. The Human King in Chillin' in Another World is a villain who tries to have the main character killed in a cowardly way, while the King in Buy the Land and Cultivate is more than happy to get Kidan out of his hair, and then pretty much ignores him afterwards. But at the end of the day, both series are fun and worth reading. However, only Chillin' in Another World with level 2 super cheat powers is available in North America. For now, you'll have to read the fan translation of Let's Buy the Land and Cultivate in a Different World. I will update in the notes if that changes in the future. Thanks for tuning in. It's fun to take a break and talk about a silly series once in a while, rather than delving into the deeper meaning behind other, more nuanced manga. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. Please like and subscribe for more content. I post new anime, manga, or light novel videos every Wednesday and Saturday. Or you can click here for more fantasy or isekai content. Stay safe, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.